What's up? What's up? What is up? Thank you for joining us for yet another week of the Ball Hog Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide. Today's episode. Today's episode is entitled Memorial Day. And while most Americans are preparing for some sort of vacation or celebration connected to our Memorial Day holiday, today's episode of Memorial Day means a lot more in terms of the memorials based on recent tragedies. While we'll still do it rough, rugged, and raw, we'll still be entertaining. We'd be remiss if we didn't start the show by acknowledging that enough is enough. Stick with us. We're going to do sports, business, entertainment here shortly. Tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anybody that you know. Please subscribe. Let's get into it. It's the Ball Hog Sports Talk coming to you on a Friday morning. Let's go.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw, so come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go.
The crew is in the building for another week of the Ball Hog Sports Talk, and we thought that it would just be right on this day with this particular show entitled Memorial Day. And this week with the recent tragedies, we just thought it would be right to start off with this interview that I think captures a lot of our feelings. So stay tuned before we get into some analysis.
I'm not going to talk about basketball. Nothing's happened with our team in the last 6 hours. We're going to start the same way tonight. Any basketball questions don't matter. Since we left shoot around, 14 children were killed 400 miles from here, and a teacher. And in the last 10 days, we've had elderly Black people killed in a supermarket in Buffalo. We've had Asian churchgoers killed in Southern California. And now we have children murdered at school. When are we going to do something? I'm tired. I'm so tired of getting up here and offering condolences to the devastated families that are out there. I'm so tired of I'm tired of the moments of silence. Enough. There's 50 senators right now who refuse to vote on H.R. 8, which is a background check rule that the House passed a couple of years ago. It's been sitting there for 2 years. And there's a reason they won't vote on it, to hold on to power. So I ask you, Mitch McConnell, I ask all of you senators who refuse to do anything about the violence and school shootings and supermarket shootings, I ask you, are you going to put your own desire for power ahead of the lives of our children and our elderly and our churchgoers? Because that's what it looks like. It's what we do every week. So I'm fed up. I've had enough. We're going to play the game tonight, but I want every person here, every person listening to this to think about your own child or grandchild or mother or father or sister, brother. How would you?
Experiencing technical difficulties. Please wait. I think we could kill it.
Yeah, we can kill it. So we're pretty much done with the interview anyway. The reason I was trying to let it play through, I think he ended with something that was more like he's fed up, he's tired of it. And I don't know the exact words, but his words at the very end, his last few words, I think embody how a lot of us feel. It embodies how numb we've become to some of it. It embodies our frustration. It embodies our sadness. It embodies our fear. And on this weekend, like I said, we're all going to get our ribs on the grill, and we can finally, for myself, a fashion guy, we finally wear those white shoes we've been waiting to wear. And, you know, God bless America, and Memorial Day absolutely should be celebrated. It's the last Monday of May. And as Americans, we celebrate this holiday, a federal holiday, that honors and mourns American military personnel who died while performing their duties in service to our United States. So we should celebrate that by honoring and mourning American military. But it also reminds us that it feels as though there's a war on each of us, a war on our sanity, a war on our safety, a war on our peace of mind. And so I wanted to bring it up here to acknowledge it. I didn't want to just do another moment of silence because it feels as though it's an exercise in futility. So I thought his words were much better equipped in conveying how a lot of us feel versus just yet another moment of silence. We do, from a Memorial Day standpoint, mourn the lives that were lost at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas. By way of Memorial Day, we do mourn the lives that were lost in Buffalo, Texas at the Tops Super Center. We mourn them, and we get ready to celebrate this Memorial Day and mourn those lost in combat. But we also want to just think going forward, how do we prevent this from happening? So on a platform like this, we felt it was only responsible to start off with that message. And now we're going to get more into just the sports business entertainment analysis. And what better way to start from a sports business and entertainment analysis standpoint than that same team? Because that was, I think, before Game 4, when the Golden State Warriors were in position to sweep the Dallas Mavericks. It was a closeout game. And here Steve Kerr, the head coach of that team, has to talk about that moment. And more importantly, talk about what we failed to do as a country, as legislators, in protecting our babies. He also said that we all got to think about our own kids. And so my 9-year-old, his school, Catholic school, they talked about it. They talked about it. They sat around and had a conversation about it. And then right there after their conversation, they did a lockdown drill. My 11-year-old, different school, they decided not to talk about it. We got an email saying, nah, you know, we're not going to discuss it. Your personal decision at home is yours. We decided not to talk about it as a school community. Some people, you know, some kids will discuss it, but we're not going to embrace the conversation as a school community. I don't know which was right, which was wrong. How do you talk to 9 and 11-year-old kids about the possibility of someone coming into their school and shooting them? I don't know what's right or wrong. I don't know if there is a right or wrong. And we all struggled this week to figure out what to say to our babies. We all struggled this week to figure out how to protect our babies. We all struggled this week to have peace of mind when we did something as simple as drop our kids off at school. So with that, because it has been discussed all week, and I don't want to belabor the point, but we thought that it was at least worth acknowledging and trying to put some context behind our feelings. ETP, Big Flow Show. I don't know if either one of you wanted to chime in before we got to any of the analysis, whether it be about the Steve Kerr interview or the incidents, plural, the most recent incidents, should I say. You got to qualify because there have been so many incidents. the most recent incidents in Buffalo and in Uvalde. Feel free to weigh in before we hop into some of this NBA playoffs talk, but wanted to open the show there in reverence and respect for those who lost their lives and the families that have been shattered because of yet another senseless gun violence act. Either one.
I think, speaking on Steve Kerr's comments, it's funny. You don't know if our country is resilient or indifferent because we are so quick to move on. We are so quick to do this or whatever when it doesn't hit home. As far as the gun violence, I go back and forth. I'm a gun owner. I'm not anti-gun, but I am anti irresponsible gun ownership. Unfortunately, there's so many guns on the street right now. It's hard to stake the genie has kind of left the bottle, so to speak. But I think that the world is or the country is such a place right now that we're seeing these shootings all the time, and people are numb until it hits home, until it hits their group, or until it does whatever. And I mentioned to you guys before the show, I was approached on Friday night by a person that had a lot of interesting things to say to me about cleansing their. Just for those not the faint of heart, I'll use the language. Driving down the street and a gentleman starts yelling out the window, and I asked him who he's talking to, and he said, "I'm talking to you, you fucking nigger. I'm going to cleanse all the earth of all you fucking niggers. I've been training 20 years to cleanse the earth of all you fucking niggers, blah, blah, blah." It went back and forth. I said some things back to him that were a little bit, interesting, I'm sure. And it went back and forth for a while. And the guy had a duffel bag and a roller bag. And, I didn't know if he had a weapon on him. I don't really, those that know me personally, I'm very quick to defend somebody and get upset. When it's me, I take a lot of shit. I've been like that my whole life where I don't get a rise out of me. I tend to be an overthinker. So I always think about what I have to lose. And in this situation, family and profession and freedom, I figured that, okay, if I get out this car, the camera phones are going to capture me getting out this car. Even though a lot of people may say it's justified, what I might do would be illegal. So I never felt threatened to the point that I had to defend myself and, whatever. But the thing about that and the way that this country is crazy is, we had a conversation with the police, and I happen to be friends with a police sergeant and talked to him, and, they picked him up, and they're quick to label him as, oh, it's just some mental health issues and whatever. And, my problem is, okay, this guy had bags. I don't know if he had guns in the bags or not, but he's basically saying that he wants to cleanse the earth of us, right? He wants to do this. He's been training his whole life for it. I don't care if he's mentally ill. I don't have any sympathies for him. To be honest with you, he seemed sane to me. He looked normal. He spoke what he said, although I disagree with everything that he had to say. He spoke in proper English, made sentences. He reacted to what I had to say with proper comebacks in our back and forth. I don't think he's crazy. I just think he's got some ideals that are off. But we're so quick to look at a person like this and write it off as it's just a mental health. This dude can really come out and start killing people. And I have what made me call the police. When I first drove away, I was thinking, I'm just going to forget about it. But then I said, I've got a young son that was home for the weekend from college with a bunch of his friends. And in this case, there was a large number of African-American kids in his group that might want to go down the street. And a crazy dude like this could be down here ready to snap at any given moment to change our lives forever. And I just don't know that there's much people can do about it. The dude could go buy a gun tomorrow. He could go buy an assault weapon tomorrow. It would take him, a couple days background or whatever, plan his case. And even though I had a call and a conversation this dude could become the next mass shooter that they've had in custody, but they're handcuffed, so to speak, as cops. There's really not much they could do. And I talked to the sergeant. I'm like, no one has called me back to ask me about the situation and the fact that these are terrorist threats. You guys are going to let this guy go because at the end of the day, he didn't touch me. He didn't hit anybody. He probably was in and out that same night. And now there's this crazed person that's in this area that I know any given moment could shoot and kill a bunch of people.
Even more enraged, probably. More enraged thinking that you led to him being arrested, not his racism. So even more enraged. So, but go ahead.
So
I'm sorry.
It's scary when you look at the state of the country when we have stuff like that and the freedoms that everyone fights so far for and the freedoms that people are fighting for this person to be able to have weapons, to be able to do what he wants to go do. And I'm talking to you people that are so Second Amendment nuts, I will say, that are so into it that you want to make sure a person like this has the right to have a gun. And you say, oh, of course not. But the way that the laws are stated today, there's nothing that's going to stop this guy from having a gun. He didn't get charged with a felony. No one has ever come back to me for me to do even verbal assault charges or anything. No one's coming back to do any report. They picked him up. They let him go. And tomorrow, if he's a headline, I don't know the guy's name right now, but tomorrow, if there's a headline and something happens, society and those who are on the side of everyone should have a gun are to blame. And again, I'm saying that as a gun owner, as a person who does have weapons and does believe that there should be responsible gun ownership. But I do believe that you should have very stringent. It's a huge responsibility. There's no bigger responsibility really besides raising a child in the world and owning a weapon that or a piece of equipment that's only designed is to kill. And people out there want everyone to have the opportunity to have that killing thing with no training, no background checks, no nothing. They want to just have it. Everyone should be able to pick one up at the corner store. And I just think that, we got to get off our political high horses, whatever side we sit on, and just have some common sense. When the Second Amendment was created, there was no AR-15s. There were no police departments. There was nothing. There was no nuclear weapons. There was no weapons of mass destruction. There was nothing like that. There was a musket, right? And everyone could get a musket. I believe you. Okay, I'll say that. Everyone should be allowed to have a musket. Besides that, you know what I mean? We're getting crazy, but I digress.
I laugh just because we have to laugh at ourselves. We've gotten to the point of silly. And as a gun owner, I think you have every right and you have the credibility to have the stance that you have. I just wish other gun owners would think that way. And a lot of people don't. They feel as though there's going to be, a task force that comes and goes through every closet and takes your gun, so you can't safely protect yourself. And there are going to be others that say if there were more people with guns, specific to both cases, whether it be the Uvalde, Texas, Robb Elementary incident, or whether it be the top supermarket in Buffalo, in both incidents, they're going to be those who say more gun ownership could have prevented death. And it's a slippery slope. I don't even want to get into politics of it.
Let me say this, and then I'll get off of my horse. But we can't blanket all gun violence the same. So the violence that happens in inner cities, whatever, that's not going to stop. Right? Illegal guns are illegal guns. The nuts that do mass shootings always buy the gun in a gun store illegally, or they always get it from a parent that left it out that didn't have any responsibility. When I get guns, no one tells me, what are you going to do with this gun? Where are you going to put it? How are you going to secure it? No one ever asked me that question. They just, here you go, sign the paperwork. So my point is, we could stop the mass shootings with gun laws. You're not going to stop gang violence with gun laws. That's another story, whatever. And I'm not saying that there's one is worse than the other, but let's save as many lives as we can.
Fair. I do always find it interesting that, God forbid that the person that you had the interaction with went and did something. Let's not even put that in the universe. Let's just go more hypothetical. But I do find it interesting after facts is like, there were no signs. There are a million signs. Over and over again. Like, that's a sign that person is unstable. That's a sign that they have racist beliefs. That's a sign that they want to carry out violent behaviors due to the racist beliefs. But, if in the event, God forbid, that he did do something, we'd be like, oh, well, there were no signs. He was a good neighbor. It's just really weird. ETP, I didn't know if you had anything before we moved on, man, but wanted to give you the opportunity if you did.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're at a point in this society where we just need to accept that there's going to be a lot of murders by way of armed weapon, firearms. Like, at the end of the day, like, this is all happening because there's illegal and legal firearms, and they're in the wrong hands at the wrong time, and people getting murdered. And so ultimately, all of it takes there's been more mass shootings in this country than there's days in the year. And when there's kids involved, that is when people jump up and there's all this outrage, and it's tragic. Like, it's anybody being murdered innocently, a life gone is a tragedy, period. But It gives the opportunities for people to call out the injustice and call out that things need to be done. But the remedies, if there's any way to regulate or remove the amount of guns that are in this country, there's more guns than people in the United States. So none of that is going to change. So the idea of, like, from my vantage point, background checks and all of these other hurdles that need to go through, people are going to get their hands on guns if there's that many guns. And they're going to use those guns if they have access to those guns, if they want to do harm to anybody. So for me, it's a tragedy. I don't downplay any of the tragedies. It shows me how the media and society values people differently, right? Innocent child is different than innocent person walking in a supermarket shopping versus innocent person in a church, the adult versus child. Like, lives are lives, and it's just become so politicized, and the solutions from a political standpoint are so unhelpful that we just need to sit here and say, we're just going to accept this, because all we've been doing is accepting it. And then every few months, if something really, really impossible to accept happens, people jump up and post on their social media and pray, and we need to stop praying. We need to do something. What do we need to do? We need to take away guns. Like, the idea that guns, the reason why everybody's clinging to this right to bear arms, and to Flo's point, like, I'm not anti-gun, but if you ask me if I would be willing to forego my right to carry a firearm if that meant other people's lives were going to be saved, thousands of people's lives, people were not going to commit suicide with firearms. If it was going to change that, I'll forego that right.
Me too.
I don't have a problem with it, but I'm not anti-gun. I don't have a problem with guns. But if you ask me if something is causing the most, what is it? The statistics, the greatest cause of death in children in the United States right now, according to the CDC, is gun violence. So if we're not at a point now where we're going to say, you know what, maybe guns shouldn't be so easily accessible, or maybe even accessible at all, because some countries you can't carry a gun. Some law enforcement aren't even allowed to carry a gun. You go to England, there's no guns anywhere. Even the police patrolling in most areas are not carrying guns. So the dynamic is different. We live in a gun culture. We want our rights. We want to make sure that we all have access to firearms if we deserve it. And then we want to come up with these fake metrics of, oh, this is how we determine if you deserve it or not. We're going to do a background check. We're going to check your mental health. We're going to do all these things. The 18-year-old that walked into that elementary school would have passed every test. Nothing would have came up in his background. This other one, an act of domestic terrorist.
Also 18 years old.
Terrorist, 18 years old, but a domestic terrorist. All the signs were there. They had previous reports of intent and premeditation. Nothing happened. They didn't address it. And he goes in and he kills, 14 people in a supermarket. So even the measures that are in place are not working. And now we're talking about adding these other measures so other people can pretend that we're doing something. But ultimately, we just need to accept it. Like, the harsh reality is, this is the world in the United States that we live in. And we're just going to accept that there's a lot more people that want free access to guns because they claim that they need to go hunting, as if there's no supermarkets anymore. They claim that it's for sport. A lot of people have it for self-defense. Like, there's a lot of rationale, but when the rationale is being outweighed by irrational actions that is causing essentially an unsafe and tragic reality for our entire society, maybe there's some consideration of, we need to outlaw. Like, I don't look at it as, oh, it's about we need to make sure the right people have the guns. Who's making those decisions? It's about access, period. But the gun makers are going to make money, and they're going to continue to make money, and they got the NRA, and they're the biggest lobby in the government, and there's all of these incentives, and politicians are paid off by the NRA. But without shedding any tears, even though this is tragic, like, let's stop being fake outraged. We just have to accept that this is the reality.
If you're just joining us, this episode is Memorial Day. And while we are preparing for Memorial Day as a weekend, we thought because of the two recent tragedies, because of the connection now to sports, we led with the Steve Kerr interview, both Big Flow Show and ETP Elston, producer. I appreciate your insights and your inputs on this. What do you say? What do you say? You know, and Steve Kerr telling us to envision our own families, our own kids in that situation, or envision that we happen to be a top supermarket just trying to buy some food for Memorial Day, and dare you be black. None of those things, going to school as a child in Uvalde, Texas, none of those things are offenses punishable by death. And yet, in both instances, they were. Please like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anybody you know. Please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and our podcast. We're going to hop into some sports business entertainment. There is no easy segue to get from where we were just at from a topic standpoint to sports. But just like Steve Kerr said, like, all right, we're going to go out here and play this game now. There's a survival mechanism to it becoming a bit numb, because I feel like we spend all our days in despair if we didn't have a sort of numbness to it, right? To survive, we have to sort of be numb to it. Just remember, voting matters, man. And let's do what we can do to make our world safer, which world meaning here in the United States, which would also make our families safer. We are all dads. We're all dads. Big Flow Show, you talked about your story, and thank you for sharing it. But the reason you called the police is because of the dad instinct that kicked in. You know, ETP.
And the same reason why they get out the car and beat the shit out that dude is the
right?
dad instance, you know?
Dad. Same with you, ETP, man. I've seen you with little E and know that relationship that you have, man. I just think as a dad, for all of us, man, that's what makes this story even more tragic. But I digress. Let's get into some sports, man. No easy way to transition, but we got to do it. Steve Kerr, who was the feature personality in that interview, and I thought he did a good job capturing the frustration and talking about how challenging it is to balance sports with a tragedy. Steve Kerr did indeed balance. They didn't win that particular game. After that interview, they lost game 4, but they closed out last night in game 5. The gentleman's sweep over Dallas Mavericks. I thought Luka was going to take a lot of heat because going into the third quarter, he was not the Luka that we had become accustomed to. He was not MVP candidate Luka. He was somebody else. But then he got hot in the third and made at least from a stat line standpoint, made it respectable. But the Warriors were just too much. The healthy Garden State, that's an AAU team. A healthy Golden State Warrior team proved to be too much. They are now, when you talk about dynasties and you compare them, for those of you who heard the opening, we're about to get back into what we do. So I got to take off my hat as dad, now become B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hawk, a.k.a. the Mountain South, a.k.a. Mr. Excessive Celebration, a.k.a. Breezy. And we got to get rough, rugged, and raw. From a dynasty standpoint, the Golden State Warriors, having now made the finals, the NBA finals, and been in contention to be the world champions 6 out of the last 8 years, they're compared, at least when you just that stat alone, to Chicago Bulls. Now, Chicago won all 6 of theirs. Golden State has 3 championships. Golden State has, to some, a dark cloud over 2 of those championships because they went and got KD. And I'm talking about present company. Look at the haters. Look, as soon as I said KD, look how they look. You know, look, those two. ETP and the Big Flow Show, they got something against KD. But
You lumping me in with this light skinned brother
I mean, y'all
over
both
here.
light skinned. You don't have a problem. You don't have a problem with that championship.
Trying to say we all look alike,
We're
think
not
alike.
good no more. That's how it is now. You want to
Only thing you did was
I'm
grow
just saying
weird.
we can have our own minds. We can have the same complexion, but we can have different opinions.
Meathead, old taco meathead ass KB.
Yeah. Look, see, went right to the man, taco meathead. Y'all
got
got
look like a plate of burnt grits, and you want to, man, look here.
Y'all put a dark cloud over that championship, those 2 championships. But if we are being objective, to make it to the finals, 6 out of the last 8 years, they had the bubble year, and then I call it a bubble plus year, which they were just injured. Those are the only 2 years they didn't make it. Are we in new territory when it comes to Golden State and what they've been able to accomplish? It doesn't look like they can be stopped. Now, granted, there's a battle going on over in the East, and we'll talk about that. But it looks like, Vegas says it. Golden State has the best chance to win. So that will be 4 championships in 8 years.
Without taco meat.
6 of the last 8 finals, they were our Western Conference representatives.
What is San Antonio
from a dynasty standpoint, where do they sit, man?
I'm going to say second. Where did San Antonio, maybe third to San Antonio. When was San Antonio's dynasty? How many chips they got?
They had kind of back end and front end. So
they got
David
5.
Robinson
I got to give them
like 98 to like what 2007.
They had a run. Pop was in the championship frequently, but his wasn't as consistent. Pop would. They were consistently good, but they weren't consistently in the finals.
So how many years was it? So they won 5 out of 6 finals. How many year span was that? I'm gonna have my
research, help us out. But keep on.
Is that
Stick
6
with the thought while
in a row?
No, it wasn't 6 in a row. But I almost want to give Pop more credit than it's one thing. So 99 to 14. So 15-year spans, 5 out of 6. That's a Popovich compliment then, because you're not going to have as many similar faces and stuff. But you got to give props to Pop though. If you think you get 5 championships out of 6 times in a 15-year period. The team, you don't want to give the dynasty to as much, but for Popovich, you got to say, look, that's difficult.
I give you that.
Everybody else, the Bulls,
the
Lakers, whatever, you're doing it with the same nucleus, right? Except for the Lakers got a couple without Shaq, but you're doing it with that same nucleus. But I'm gonna say top 4. I'm gonna give them top 4 dynasties of our era, taking away, like cutting it off with the Lakers and the Celtics of the past.
How about you, ETP? I mean, I don't know, like ranking wise, just off the top of your head, just a feeling, right? We aren't looking at the data that we can argue it. How does it make you feel? Because when you look at Golden State, you got to give Steve Kerr credit too, because his cast has changed. His supporting cast has changed, and he was able to do it both with and now without, and before those 2 years without KD. And they've been the model of consistency. You also got to give credit to that front office because of how they built it. That's what makes me feel like this is a reminder of that Chicago dynasty. And I'm not saying it's the same. I'm just saying they've had the consistency of the same nucleus of players with that same coach, and they've figured out how to beat different juggernauts. Whether it was the LeBron, they've overcome different mountains and different levels of steepness, but it's been the same core. ETP, what do you think?
They got some stains.
They got some stains. I know the stain is KD for you. I know
KD and the year they had a chance to be the best team ever, and they lost the championship down up 3-1.
So maybe the greatest player ever.
I get it. But that punch you in your stomach though. When you think about your dynasty, like that was your one. Like they can't say I was the best of anything ever except for 3-point shooters. They can't really do nothing.
But guess
the best record in the regular season, but you don't win the chip and you had it in your hands.
That puts them in it. But that same fun fact puts them in the conversation with that Bulls dynasty. Because the reason we look at that, their inability to close the deal, is because we compare it to who had the previous regular season record, that Chicago Bulls team, who was able to dot the I's and cross the T's. But
you got to throw the whole season away, though. When you do that and you get the championship and you're up 3-1 and you lose, you got to throw the whole season away. The whole thing goes away.
Man,
Just
they was
like when
73-9, bro.
the Patriots undefeated, broke every pass record, whatever, and then lose the Super Bowl.
No, man, they was 73-9.
Oh,
On
the
that
whole
record,
season.
that's impressive.
All of
ETP,
it.
what you think, man? Dynasty wise, just a gut feeling. We ain't got to go like tit for tat and yeah, but this is just a feeling because we've watched it. We've seen now. If you use San Antonio, I would go with the Lakers. I would go with Chicago, right? And even Detroit maybe had a little small.
What they got 3?
They got what
Two
do you
different
mean?
ones.
Two separate
Not
back to
Zeke
backs.
and not Isaiah Thompson, but the other one, the
Big Ben
Ben.
Wallace,
They had 2.
Rip Hamilton, Chauncey
They had back to
Billups.
back. Bad Boys 2.
Yeah,
that's just 2.
Prince.
What did Boston do with KG? They got 2.
1.
Right?
No, they
They got
got
1.
They were one of them.
Right.
They didn't have a
But
dynasty.
then you would have to try to say the Miami Heat was a dynasty if you're going to give it to Detroit. You can't.
4 years in a row. We were.
I mean,
4 years in a row.
I'm gonna. So I have a lot of good to say about Golden State. Like, one, Klay Thompson comes back after 2.5 years. They go right to the finals. Like this, so this is a good research question. How many players are on the roster for Golden State right now that were not drafted by Golden State? Like, the fact that they've built this culture within. I mean, I know Iguodala, but I can't think off the top of my head. Are there any players on that team? Because KD came, KD was an import and he left. But right now, the core, they were all drafted. Steve Kerr has been the coach. So definitely the culture that they built, ironically, coming from the legacy of Popovich, who is big influence on Steve Kerr as a player and as a coach. Ime Udoka, who's probably going to be the finals representative out the East. So the Popovich piece is really interesting. But if I'm going to compare it, I still say LeBron James is a better dynasty than these Golden State Warriors because he went to 10 straight finals and won 4 of them.
Him as a person
is a better dynasty. Beat the team with the best regular season record of all time.
Him as a human is just
LeBron James.
Him.
LeBron James.
Hey, I subscribe to that.
You know how you were able to ignore that gentleman who threw the racial epithet to you in the street there at the Big Flow show? You were the bigger man. I'm going to ignore the jab. I know what y'all trying to get me to do. I get what you're trying to get me to do with the LeBron James.
LeBron got as many championships as Golden State.
But I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to fall for it today because we got to stick to this NBA playoff stuff. Steph Curry won what is this inaugural Conference Finals MVP award. We discussed this whole spirit in our society. Everybody needs a trophy, but this particular award on the Western Conference is named after Magic Johnson. Did Steph Curry deserve the MVP? It was tough. I mean, there were several
superstars on the court.
Absolute superstars. There are several players mentioned as we were approaching into the game. And I think what that does is it shows just how balanced their team is, right? It was tough to figure out who MVP was because Klay Thompson went off last night, but he hadn't really done much in the previous games. And, Andrew Wiggins had big games. Jordan Poole had big games. Looney, from at least a rebounding standpoint, even had big games. It was tough to decide who won the MVP. Now. Say again?
Don't compliment Looney now. You hate him so much.
I don't like him, but at the same time, I'm not going to deny he had a 22 rebound game, and then last night I think he had 19 rebounds. So
why does he bother you most days?
I don't think he's a good player. But that ain't got nothing to do with this topic.
So you guys enjoy the show, but the week lead up to the show is more fun for me than the show. The conversations that we have, we probably have no less than like 300 in a week text messages that go back with arguments. And one of why I'm bothering Bobby right now is because he can't stand Looney to always text about how much he's trash, he's terrible. But then you compliment him here for everybody else. I can't.
Hey, I still think he's trash. Still think he's terrible. But I'm being objective. How about that? I'm just doing my job here.
Hey, got 10.6. It's 10 rebounds.
10 and 10.
Yeah, but double. Let's couple of this. He's pretty good.
I don't like watching that type of.
It's just the distance. Like, I'm fine with you saying Looney is garbage, and then I guess I'll say fine. You can call Andrew Wiggins a superstar, but like the distance between those two doesn't make any sense to me.
And look,
That's a
the
good
cheeky
point.
black. See now y'all got.
That's a good
See,
point.
that's what I love about this. That's what I love about the people that tune in. We got a live audience member, cheeky black Shelton Chufu tells us now Looney's a superstar. That's what we
superstar.
want. You know,
Everybody's a superstar.
I mean,
I'm
listen,
not gonna let y'all drag me.
It's
Does
a
he
new
get paid to
era.
play basketball?
He's
He's a superstar.
He could
Is he the
dribble
best
with
ever
his
come out of high
hand. He's a
school?
superstar.
Anybody from his Boy Scout basketball team beat him in basketball? Therefore, he's a superstar.
I'm not messing with y'all today, man. I'm not doing it. I'm not letting y'all get me into this. That same Golden State team, as talking about their dynasty, is 6-0 in the Western Conference Finals. So while they are not 6-0 in the finals, which is the litmus test when everyone wants you to engage in a Jordan conversation, it's the 6-0 in the finals. If we're going to use that same mentality, this Golden State Warriors team is 6-0 in the Western Conference, and you look over the last several years, in that span, the Western Conference was a better conference than the Eastern Conference for the most part. That's one of the things that people use to detract LeBron. They say he was coming out of the easy East. So the best conference in the NBA, over that 6 of the last 8 finals appearances, Golden State was 6-0 in the Western Conference Finals.
Has LeBron ever lost a conference final?
It's a good question.
Good
I think
question.
early on the Cavs, he might have lost. I know the Celtics had his number for a few years
I don't know
before he
if that
went
was
to
the finals,
Miami.
though. When he early was that Eastern Conference Finals when Celtics beat them? I don't remember. Good question. But so here we're going right back to LeBron. See y'all.
I'm just saying.
I mean, look, man, facts are
Cold
facts.
piece of work. Y'all cold piece of work.
That's terrible, LeBron. They mistreat my boy LeBron because they don't like his hairline. There's a discrimination for everything, and hairline discrimination is obviously part of it. Because if LeBron would just quit and cut his hair bald, I think more people would accept him to be like Jordan. But since he keep fighting and try to hold their
I've come to like that though. I think that to me, from a personality standpoint,
no quit.
I'm not a LeBron hater all the time. Sometimes I got spot hate. I decide when I want to hate. But
That's right with you. Like you're like a user. You know what I'm saying? Like when he was with the Heat, you had a jersey, but now you hate him because he's not there anymore. Yeah. You're a user. You're like the people that burned his jersey in Cleveland.
Yeah, I wouldn't burn it because it costs too much, but I would resell it. I would definitely
you can put it off on it for me.
Yes, I said that. I like LeBron. From LeBron's standpoint, his career, to me, I look at 4 years out of his career. I'm like, those are great years. Those are the years he was down in Miami. That's just me. I'm
just coincidentally.
But one of the
so
other
happens
things,
to be it was for your home team.
Yeah. I'm opportunistic. But the other thing that I've said about LeBron that I don't like is he actually cares about what people think about him. He wants to be liked. And all the other superstars, especially when you think of Michael Jordan, was a jerk. He's still a jerk. Even in The Last Dance, Michael Jordan came across as a pompous, arrogant SOB, and he don't care. So that's what I've always said about LeBron. So fast forward, and you say he's keeping his hair because you want to keep his hair. I like that. The heck would everybody want you to cut your hair? Keep your hairline or lack thereof.
It's better than KD's.
KD's is a spotlight. His in the middle of his head. LeBron's in the front.
The problem is KD makes no attempt because his shit looks like that during warm-ups. That means you didn't, I can understand some people hair quit. Like you used to do your little mustache and stuff, and they would quit. I get it. But like warm-ups.
You got to be at least 7'2" to see that man's ball spot.
Not when you're in the NBA and they got cameras above. I see it.
You see, because of the cameras, right?
You think he's good till he ties his shoe? And I had a buddy used to always say, man, you can't tell I'm bald till I tie my shoe because he's about 6'7".
We gotta at least talk about. You see my man ETP wearing his Celtics hat. We gotta talk about Game 6 because what's gonna happen tonight, and you heard it here first on the Ball Hog Sports Talk. What's gonna happen tonight is our injured, beat up, old, superstar deplete team, because we ain't got no mega star other than Jimmy Buckets, and he's on half a leg. We gonna go into Boston tonight.
I like how you built up the alibi before we even.
I got a good fishing spot. I got a good fishing spot for y'all. Because y'all going fishing after today, my friend.
We're going into Boston tonight. Let me look the camera right in the face. We're going into Boston tonight. And we gonna do what nobody thinks we gonna be able to do. We gonna open a can of that good old whoop ass right up there in Boston. You heard it here first. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, get ready. Because we're going to game 7. We're going to Miami. It's going to be an all white out. We're going to win in game 7. It's going to be the most unlikely hero. Maybe it's going to be Tyler Hero. Maybe he comes back. But that's how we're going to win in game 7. But the only way we get there, Miami Heat, let's go Heat. Let's go Heat. The only way we get there is we win tonight in game 6, where everybody's saying we can't do it. People are already giving the odds for Golden State and the Celtics in the finals. Don't you dare be so disrespectful. We're going to win tonight. What do you say, ETP?
I feel sorry, man. I feel very sorry. I know you wanted to, deliver that conviction, but I can't even tell that you're not convinced that this is going to happen. That it is tough. I mean, you already built up the alibi, the injuries and all that, but even Joel Embiid said it. But Jimmy needs another superstar. Whatever that means. Whatever
he needs another fishing pole.
Andrew Wiggins, but they're going fishing. They're going fishing in a couple days. It's just sad that they gotta go all the way to Boston to go all the way back home to go fishing. I think maybe they should have just forfeited game 6 and just call it a day.
You heard it here first. We gonna win game 6 tonight. Now, at about 11 o'clock, so I'm getting all your little text messages, fellas. I'm on all these little group texts. Everybody taking shots at the Heat. I got Knicks fans talking trash to me. Knicks fans. Knicks fans. To me, if I'm a Knicks fan, anytime the topic of basketball comes up, I'm changing the topic. I'm going to talk about something. Let's talk about NHL playoffs. Let's talk about MLB. I'm going to talk about something. I'm not going to talk basketball. Knicks fans want the smoke talking trash to me. So around 11 p.m., I want all y'all that had the audacity to send me that vitriol and talk about, y'all, your Heat, and go fishing. I want an apology. Text me an apology by 11 o'clock when we win game 6, take it to game 7. That's how we doing. Let's go Heat. We stand alive. Stand alive. That's what we're going to do tonight, baby. We just got to stay alive. You know what I'm saying? We're going to stay alive.
I just hope it's competitive. I just want a competitive game. We haven't seen a competitive game in the playoffs in a long time. I think the last one, what was it, game 4 when the Celtics brought it back down to 1 and then they ended up losing by 10. But I just want it to be competitive. So hopefully you guys go out with some dignity. Don't win, but at least make it respectable. Don't quit. Fight. Go fight to the end because the season you can rest it. You can rest in the off season, and it'll be here in a matter of hours.
When we win in game 7, I want all y'all to just go back to my predictions, and I'm not gonna say I told you so. So I want you to just internalize it and say that boy Breezy, man. I said the Heat in 7. The Heat in 7. There was some other NBA news, man, that we got to talk about because it got real interesting this week when the all NBA teams came out. So, because ETP and the Big Flow Show always want to bring up LeBron, we'll start there. LeBron is 3rd team.
Hairline discrimination. Again.
We are showing the visualization there on the screen. For those listening in podcast format, we'll try to be sure that we give you a rundown of what we see. Well, we'll just call it out. How about that? First team, the forwards are the Greek Freak and Jason Tatum. The guards are Luka and Devin Booker, and the center is the Joker. I think Jason Tatum has had a heck of a season. I really do. But that's the one I have issue with. I just don't think Jason Tatum should have made the first team All-NBA. And then you ask, okay, so who makes it? I would have been okay with LeBron making first team All-NBA, given what he did with such little resources this year. Anthony Davis, been fishing all year. He gets hurt every time he blinks. And yet LeBron, for the most part, having a contention. I also understand why you would put LeBron in there because while they were in contention, 3/4 of the way through the season. They didn't make the playoffs. They couldn't even make a 10-team playoff, expanded playoff. They didn't even make the play-in. I think they ended up 11th in the West. So I would also understand why you wouldn't put him in there. I then would probably say that DeMar DeRozan should have been first team because DeMar DeRozan was a one-man wrecking crew. Zach LaVine had moments, but there were so many injuries in Chicago that DeMar DeRozan, being in MVP contention in Chicago with very little help, to me, should have been first team. And then from there, I'm good with most of the first team from there. Devin Booker was a challenge for me, but CP3 being out and them being the best team in all NBA regular season from a record standpoint, I get where the bonus came from him. But what do you guys think? That's my initial reaction to this list. I would take Jason Tatum off, probably bump up DeMar DeRozan. Kevin Durant, second team. I could also see LeBron, who, in my humble opinion, as a candidate for the scoring title and doing a lot with very little. I can see LeBron moving up to the second team and KD moving down to the third team forward. What do you guys see?
I would have been comfortable with John Morant over Booker. I know we carried him in the number one team. I mean, it's hard. They were number one team. He did it, but John Morant is just, I don't know. He's that dude right now. Sorry for me to sit there, but I'm not going to cry with him in second. I do have a hard time with LeBron being third. He was almost a scoring champ. He was MVP candidate for a long MVP conversation guy for a large part of the season. So third, it just doesn't sit well with me. It's hard. Okay, Luka did well. I can't argue with Luka. Obviously, the Greek freak is who he is. I can't be mad with the Joker. Let me see who the center is. Joker got MVP, but I mean, at the end of the day, if Embiid would have got over there, it wouldn't have bothered me.
Embiid won the MVP. Joker took home the trophy. That's anyway.
Yeah. So
Embiid should won the MVP. Go ahead.
That's a tough one. Obviously, going back and forth. I don't know. I think John Morant would have been first team for me. What are the stat differences? Somebody could pull that up. The differences between Booker and Morant. Maybe it's just he's so exciting. It's hard to pass that up. But you can't disrespect LeBron until he decides to retire. He just has a spot to me on the first team.
You think the third team All NBA is disrespectful to a potential GOAT?
It is. I don't see how Durant is over LeBron. I mean, that's one thing for sure. I don't see how Durant is over him. He's first team to me. I don't care what you say. He almost was the damn MVP. He's there with Siakam. Him and Siakam is the same player.
Because Shelton Jordan says, and I'm reading, one of our live audience members says, all NBA should be positionless.
Basketball.
If we did it positionless, does LeBron make it in? So let's just go top 5. Don't even worry about positions.
If we do it positionless, and that's my main problem with this too, is because like the second team has 2 point guards, right? So you're just calling them guards. John Morant and Steph Curry, they both play point guard, right? And like the idea that Luka is explicitly a guard, I mean, he plays a small forward. If that's the case, like LeBron's a point guard / for it's so right. Positionless at this point. So that being said, I think Embiid definitely should have been first team. I think LeBron should have been first team. So I would have taken out probably Tatum and Booker, put LeBron and Embiid in there and let that be the first team. And nobody's ever going to beat that squad. So, but right. I'm surprised about DeRozan because DeRozan was in the MVP conversation for a long part of the season. And the fact that he only got 2 first team votes is really surprising. But
I guess really the biggest shock is Wiggins. I mean, if we're being honest, he's not top 15 player in the NBA.
He's not top 15 player in the NBA. He's top 36 though, because he made the doggone All-Star. He's top 26. He didn't make top 15. He right outside. They should put in here like they do college football. Also got votes. Wiggins got votes. I ain't mess with you.
Anthony Edwards is better than Andrew Wiggins.
I'll give you that. Anthony Edwards is better than Wiggins.
He wasn't an All-Star, was he?
He got robbed this year.
Are y'all happy with
Denver
Siakam?
got
He's the only
robbed this
one.
year.
Him and Trae Young. We don't talk about.
Say again.
Siakam, should he be on this list?
He had a good season.
Yeah.
He had a good season. What I will say is when I look at this and look at the voters and knowing how this process plays out, to see the Greek Freak has 100 first team votes and not a single vote for any other team, and yet he didn't win the MVP.
Silly.
It starts to make you wonder. Now, I don't agree with those votes. To me, Joel Embiid deserved the MVP this year. But I think that because the Greek Freak has both size and guard capabilities and some of the things that he does on the floor, we're just like as fans, we love offense. We respect defense, but we love to watch offense. I think the same thing is true when it comes to these positions. We just love guards. We respect what the front court does, but the back court is what dictates everything. Because there's no way that the Greek Freak 100 votes, all 100 votes for first team. That's saying something.
It is. And then to finish third in the MVP, he wasn't even in the conversation really at that point.
Yeah, it was a two-man race between the Joker and Embiid. Just really interesting how these play out, man.
Shout out to Paulus. Appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, really appreciate you, my brother. Love the point. Paulus is a live audience member who says LeBron's also just taken for granted because he is just that good.
Right. He's got to average 50 a game to be first team.
Yeah, LeBron is always competing against the highest standard, which is himself.
Mm-hmm.
But even on that stratosphere of a standard, LeBron delivered this year, man. He has some straight hot garbage around him. And he delivered, almost won the scoring title. In the last 15 games when it became clear that they weren't going to make the playoffs and he sat out, I think that's what hurt his candidacy for being – I don't know if he'd have made first team. I thought he should at least made second team. All-NBA.
I just hope that none of these players – because I know a couple years ago or I think last season, Tatum lost out on a ton of money because of the All-NBA voting. And out of everybody, I hope Joel Embiid doesn't have any incentives tied to being on the NBA All-NBA first team, because by vote count alone or total points, he would be above Tatum, but he's All-NBA second team because of the position definition. But I just hope, it just shows agents negotiating these contracts, building in these incentives around voting mechanisms. It's dicey because
it is.
You just never know.
We have my man Shelton True Food says he asked a question: is LeBron the only one to make an All NBA team that didn't make at least the play-in game for playoff round?
Yeah,
and I think he is.
Yeah.
Let's look at it. Greek Freak, obviously Dallas.
Yeah.
Yes, they just won last night. Denver
Everybody
was in it.
Yes.
So, hey, there's an argument for LeBron getting the credit of being LeBron.
So he should get special mention for that.
Yeah, you guys.
But that's the thing. Like, if you're All NBA, does it matter what your team does?
Yeah.
Really?
It kind of does.
I mean, Jokic, the Denver was like a 5th seed or 6th seed.
Well, Devin Booker is a guard, makes it on the team with the top team in the NBA. I mean, that stands out. That's what makes him stand above a John Morant. Like, I didn't see the stat differences between the two, but when you're on the number one team in basketball in the regular season and you're the best guard, it stands out more than a team that's I think what Morant was like a 5 seed or something.
They were a 2 seed.
They went a 2 seed.
Memphis was a 2 seed.
No, they weren't. Were they?
Yeah, they were.
Well,
they
were.
Were.
Shit, damn. That's my
now you're upset. I like that.
Yeah,
that was real raw emotion right there.
I was trying to give him a pass, but like when you think about if we were at the Y right now, and you both were captains, and you have Ja and you have Booker over there picking, who are you picking?
I like Ja Morant's game.
Picking Ja Morant, man.
I like Ja Morant's game, But I could see if someone picked Devin Booker based on who else they thought that they could get. I could see Devin Booker was solid. I would have
Solid
taken
as
John
shit.
Morant. I would have taken John
You
Morant.
picked
So
John
maybe-
Morant.
But Devin Booker had a hell of a year, man.
He did.
He had a hell of a year,
He's a
too.
great basketball player.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
great. I picked John Morant. Come
We
on.
all got recency bias, and I think Devin Booker at the end of their playoff run had a few misses, and not in terms of missed shots, but he didn't show up and deliver. And Phoenix came in with expectations that this was their shot. So whereas John Morant, when he didn't play, we saw what happened with Memphis, and they only had a chance, in my humble opinion, because he was so dynamic. So.
But if
That's the only reason I hesitate.
but if you're saying that the team
outright to John Morant.
if you're saying the team performance is important, then that's a negative against John Morant. His team was what 20-5 when he didn't play.
Without him. Right.
So is it about team performance? Because if they don't need him to win, does that cancel out the performance of the team when he's with them?
The only thing I hate more than you making a good point is you make it with a Celtics hat on. I don't know. You make a great point, my brother.
Hey,
I don't know. I don't have anything. I don't have a witty
We just
retort
got
for that.
two
other
All
than-
NBA guards, and y'all lost. I mean, who else got two All NBA guys out here?
Yeah, Phoenix the only team that has two, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
And
I
they-
hate.
And they fell off a cliff. I feel bad. Chris Paul is never going to win a championship.
It's done. You should retire. It's done.
Hey, don't
That
feel
shit's
bad for
dead.
him, man. Him and my boy, what's his? I'm tripping. I drew a blank. The defender who has been talking trash about him on TV.
Ashley Larry.
Pat Beverly.
Pat Beverly, yeah. Freudian slip, but that goes to show legacy long term. I couldn't even remember Pat Beverly's name for a second. Him and Pat Beverly gonna do a podcast together, man. Chris Paul gonna be all right. He's never gonna hoist that trophy. Never. All right, let's hop into a few more topics before we get out of here, man. You know what it is? It's the Ball Hawk Sports Talk with your boy B Brown, ESQ, aka the Ball Hawk, aka the Mouth South, aka Mr. Success Celebration, aka Breezy. And in this segment, man, it is the Ball Hog Sports Talk, and we all are ball hogs. So I'm going to go ahead and hog the ball on this one and take this particular topic. The thing that I wanted to discuss this week and bring to the show before we get out of here is Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick is getting a workout with the Las Vegas Raiders. And maybe it took them moving from Oakland to Las Vegas for him to get a shot. But Colin Kaepernick getting a legitimate workout, and it happened on the anniversary of the George Floyd death tragedy. Obama weighed in on the George Floyd part and sort of took some flack about that, and just reminding us we got to be vigilant about being good public servants and not to minimize such a tragedy. But Colin Kaepernick getting a legitimate workout is interesting. It'll be very interesting for two reasons. A, to see if they sign him, because if you look at behind their starter who they have, Colin Kaepernick could easily fit into that mix. He could make it in that quarterback room. And then second, all the people that turned off the television, that turned off the NFL because Colin Kaepernick, I'm with Cap, was out of the NFL and being, blackballed. I hate to use that term, but according to the settlement, NFL is willing to settle. There was collusion against Colin Kaepernick playing in NFL. Do those people turn the TV back on? Do they start watching? If Oakland does sign him, does the jersey become record-breaking jersey sale? Do the people who have said that Black Lives Matter and protests related to police injustices have no place in football, do they now turn the TV off again? And this being discussed in the same week and on this episode of Memorial Day, when we are talking about incidents like Buffalo, New York, when racists are still rearing their ugly heads and doing so with, unfortunately, life-taking tools and weapons. It's just an interesting time in this country, man. So I wish Colin Kaepernick nothing but the best. All of the social justice warriors that have been behind Colin Kaepernick, I'm interested. Please be very woke and be loud spoken, and I want to see how this impacts sport and the overall uptick or not of people coming back to football. So good luck, Colin Kaepernick. I hope you get a legitimate shot that you take full advantage of. And with that, I'll pass the ball over to my man, Big Flo Show. You got the ball. What's up?
I don't know. First of all, I got to give a shout out to the Irish. Right now, they got the #1 recruiting class in the nation. A lot of people expect them to be in the mix every year. But I want to give a special shout out, my little segue. Right now, Northwestern's got the #7 recruiting class in the nation. So,
okay, Wildcats.
Wildcats. Wildcats. They coming around.
Do you know the fight song?
No, and so I do not. They
you gotta learn their fight song, man.
I could just use the Notre Dame beat and just throw Northwestern in there.
Put Northwestern.
Rally sounds of Northwestern. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out though. Once my son scores his first touchdown, I'm gonna sing it on this.
That's what's up.
That's a promise to y'all. That's my first song.
I'll sing it with you, my brother. Let's go, Little Reg.
So hey, they're #7 right now. It's still a little early. I know some of the teams out there, like the Bamas and the Clemsons and of the world, usually get their signees at the All-Star games or whatever, so they'll move up. But I'm happy to see #7 make Northwestern #7 making moves. You know what I mean? And in the days of NIL and people buying classes, not that I'm not shunning that, but people buying classes. And from firsthand knowledge, I realized that we are not paying for players, or either that or we were going to hold out because we didn't get our check. But at the end of the day, just to see them in the mix this early and getting better, I think they got like 8 or 9 commitments in the last 10 days. I'm happy to see it, man. I'm ready to go, man. We're ready for that Big Ten championship, baby. Let's go. So anyway, another thing I wanted to talk about kind of briefly, I don't know who watches Real Sports with Gumbo. I like watching that show. Whatever they did something with Deshaun Watson's accusers this week, and I want to know if anybody else watched that. Kind of what you feel. I personally,
how was that? So how many? They had accusers. Deshaun Watson's accusers.
Two of his accusers came on
massage therapists. Let's call them
massage therapists. Masseuses. They were on there and they told their story.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna take a step back and say something fishy about having 45 massage therapists. Something's up with you. There's already something weird there. I found them to be disingenuous. I don't want to get too graphic with some of the descriptions that they had, but and you know what? I take sometimes you don't want to play the prediction game of what you would do in a situation, but some of the stuff just didn't make a lot of logical sense. Some of the requests he made, he was naked during the massage. But I think you could get naked in massages sometimes where there are people do that.
No, you can. Yeah.
In general. I don't do that stuff.
No, yeah. You can.
Yeah, that's legal. That's legal.
No, that's the thing. I don't get naked. I'm married. I don't get naked.
You jumped in real fast. Yeah. You could definitely do that.
That's all good.
I don't get naked when I get massaged, whatever stuff. I don't want scare anybody. But but he said he was naked, and then they were saying he was, asking them to massage his stomach and his thighs, and then they did that, and then he ejaculated out of nowhere, and I was so surprised, and I'm scarred forever. So I just was like,
yeah, that does seem something like there's something missing from that mathematical
something weird,
equation.
right? Something
unless he's
weird.
Super weird. 2 + 2 does not equal 4 in that equation.
Why did you do that? I've never had anybody do massage me like that. I never asked specifically, and just some of the things just seemed a little bit weird. But then I'll tell you, afterwards at the end, Kaepernick's.
You got it. I got Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson's attorney got on there, and she was, they're smart. They had a young woman that was out there doing it, and she delivered the message. And she's like, the consistency here is the attorney. She said three attorneys refused to do the case. So it sounded like one person started this off, right? And all these attorneys said, no, I'm not going to take the case. I'm not going to take the case. And then this attorney took it, and he went on a campaign and called every single massage therapist and tried to say, hey, we can get you paid and do whatever. I don't know what he said, so I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it sounds like he obviously went on a recruiting campaign to get these people involved.
Busby is the plaintiff attorney.
Right. So, there was a few women that he had sex with consensually. I don't know if they all came forward or whatever, but I guess he admits to having 3 sexual encounters with it, which, those odds don't make him the GOAT. If you think 3 times out of the 50,000 massage therapists, he's definitely not going to win any GOAT conversations. So not to make light of abuse, but I don't know. I still think something wrong with the dude who got that massage therapy people, but I want to know people who watched the show if they felt that the people were credible. The woman, she kept trying to cry. She couldn't get herself to cry. She kept trying to cry. It wasn't coming out. I don't know. It seemed weird to me.
You didn't buy it. For anybody
Just those
live,
2. I still think he's a weirdo. But I don't know. Something about it just threw me
for
off.
anybody in the live audience that also saw, it's Real Sports with Brian Gumbel. And that episode, I don't know what they call that episode, but
The last one. That's what they call it. The last episode. It comes out once a month on a Tuesday.
Please weigh in. Please weigh in.
Please check it out.
Good stuff, man. I'm gonna now pass the ball over to ETP, man. You got the ball, brother. What you got for us?
So the ball, let's talk a little baseball. We don't do that very often, but just this past week there was a little bit of a controversy in Major League Baseball around Josh Donaldson of the New York Yankees referring to Tim Anderson of the Chicago White Sox as Jackie in reference to Jackie Robinson. And immediately after the game, it ended up there was another incident where Tim Anderson took a hard slide in the infield against Josh Donaldson and cleared the benches. All the hoopla of when baseball pretends like they're gonna fight. And
hold me back.
Yeah. So 50 guys are out there, just having a conversation in a circle. So at the end of the game, basically Tim Anderson said that he was referred to in a racially derogatory fashion by being called Jackie in reference to Jackie Robinson. The coach of the White Sox, La Russa, co-signed that, said that there was something racist said. Come to find out, Josh Donaldson had been referring to, by his own account, that in 2019, Tim Anderson, who is an African-American Major League Baseball player, referred to himself as the new Jackie Robinson in 2019 because he was focused on trying, not in the way of social justice or integration, but to bring individuality and fun into the game. So not sure why he would try to reference someone that changed the landscape of American society by integrating Major League Baseball, by saying he wanted to be able to, be a little bit more individual and celebratory in a sport or pastime that has historically been pretty conservative. So no bat flipping and celebrations and things of that nature. So that was his reference. And Josh Donaldson had been calling him this for the past few years every time they interacted as a joke. But come to find out, the MLB, in their ways, they ended up suspending Josh Donaldson for 1 game. And Josh Donaldson then also apologized to the Robinson family, to Jackie Robinson's wife, and everyone associated with Jackie Robinson. Josh Donaldson is obviously a white baseball player, but a lot of uproar about racism when in reality, from my vantage point, I think the real issue is that this young male baseball player is referring to himself as the new Jackie Robinson when he's experiencing and forwarding nothing that resembles what Jackie Robinson had to do in 1947 in order to integrate Major League Baseball.
Yo, I think that stories like this, when I first heard it, I'm like, yo, that is racist, without any real background to the story, that he referred to himself as Jackie Robinson and they were teammates and this was something that he had done. Like, all right, Jackie, like the story that I thought I heard and the narrative that went along with that when I initially heard it is completely different. This is what, like, people say playing the race card, and I hate even using that phrase, but this feels like literally playing the race card. Nah, he was clowning you because that's a clownable offense. You refer to yourself as Jackie Robinson, you narcissist SOB. Like, you're not Jackie Robinson.
That's a really really weird stretch if you're gonna be racist on a baseball field to call somebody Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, I thought that the first time too, but
it just doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
So that's my problem is, what about Jackie Robinson would be an insult? Like what negative do you have? They have a Jackie Robinson day. So if anyone called you Jackie Robinson, and I can't think of a scenario in which that's an insult from a standpoint of there's nothing negative about Jackie Robinson. So like,
well, to answer
if I say, all right,
the insult is that he said he was Jackie Robinson, and the insult in reverse was, word, you Jackie Robinson. Okay,
because you try to sit there and say that you were Jackie, but that's the only way that it becomes an insult is because you tried to claim to be him. But like, it's not a derogatory word in any context at all to say Jackie Robinson. He's a great person, he's a great reputation. No one has negative things to say about him. So when I first heard he called him Jackie Robinson, I was like, how is that even a diss? Like,
but I know you asked it rhetorically. I think so. When I heard it and how I got mentally to the point, like, yeah, that is racist. Is I heard it like you're substituting, something like Blackie with Jackie, right? Like that Jackie Robinson's a black guy. Like that's how I was hearing it. Like yo, why my name's not Jackie? Why you calling me that? But again, I'm listening to it in a vacuum, not knowing all the other particulars behind it. Like, I'm big on if you don't know me and it's a hot and tense situation, we're competing against each other. Like, nah, just call me by my name. Like, yo, so now I didn't know they were teammates. I didn't know he referred to himself as Jackie Robinson. And I was essentially allowing the implications that people were making in the initial story. I was allowing those to indeed, guide my judgment on how I could see Blackie being substituted for Jackie.
Yeah, I mean the only way
speaks to your creativity. Because that didn't come to me.
Now I feel stupid.
And I like to insult people.
It speaks to my naivety because I got duped, right? Like, dude, this wasn't racist at all. I was naive.
Spoken from somebody who I like to insult people and I like to make fun of people and do whatever. It just seems like when I first heard it, I'm like, there's got to be more to this because that's just not, it's like a weird thing to call some, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it is.
It's more like if this was in, say, the Japanese league and there's a black American that ends up going and playing overseas in Japan and those Japanese players start calling that player Jackie, all right, like that could be racially driven, right? Like, oh, welcome to Japan, Jackie, right? Like that has a connotation.
You can call somebody anything.
In Major League Baseball, like, there's no context for it. So.
I'm embarrassed that I fell for it, but I'm also proud that ETP, you got the real story. But that is really the phrase playing the race card. That's what it feels like. All right, everybody did their thing with the ball, man. Appreciate you guys. We're gonna get out of here for the week. I'll be remiss if I didn't at least mention these two things before we get out of there. A few things. Naomi Osaka lost in the first round of the French Open. She was beaten the first round, and the story there is just that she was beaten the first round. And she's lost to the same American, Amanda something. She's lost to her twice now. The NHL playoffs, just so we are showing our diversity. We on the Eastern Conference, Tampa Bay swept my Florida Panthers, and I say my very loosely. I'm a Panthers fan whenever they're good. That's how most Floridians are. And the Rangers are going against the Carolina Hurricanes. The Carolina Hurricanes and that Eastern Conference semifinal matchup are leading 3-2. And game number 6 is tonight, I think. Is it tonight? Tomorrow night. In the Western Conference, you had Edmonton Oilers defeated Calgary Flames 4-1. So they are awaiting the winner of the other semifinal, which is the St. Louis Blues versus Colorado Avalanche. Colorado leads that series 3-2. And game 6 is tonight in St. Louis. So that's the NHL rundown. They are approaching the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals. On both sides, one team is decided. They're waiting on the other matchup. Last thing, and I say this every week, we do as a unit, and we say it this week again, free Brittany Griner. Her wife came out and really tried to advocate for the Biden administration to do more and get Brittany Griner home. We've been consistent with that. One of her teammates had something to say this week. So like we say every week, free Brittany Griner, hashtag free Brittany Griner. This has been the Ball Hawk Sports Talk with your boy, B Brown ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hawk, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, a.k.a. Mr. Excessive Celebration, a.k.a. Breezy. I was here with the crew. The whole crew was here, ETP, Ellis, the producer, and the Big Flow Show coming to you from the windy city of Chicago, a big summer city. We brought it to you rough, regular, and raw. We did sports, business, and entertainment. That's the way we do it. We started off just talking about Memorial Day. And Memorial Day as a holiday is one thing. And I hope that everybody is, I got on my red, white, and blue. I hope everybody is prepared for a family fun weekend of barbecues and celebrations and bring out some cold beer and all of those good things. And as we said, Memorial Day is a federal holiday, right? We're honoring and also mourning the American military that gave the ultimate price to sacrifice their lives while fighting for our freedoms. So that's Memorial Day from a national holiday standpoint. But Memorial Day for us this week in this country, on the heels of yet another tragedy, this time in Uvalde, Texas, at Robb Elementary School, right after we saw in Buffalo, New York, at the Top supermarket, another couple of examples of senseless violence. Memorial Day for us is we want to put to rest the hate that leads to those tragedies. We want to put to rest the lack of security in places that we once thought were very secure. We want to put to rest people that should not have firearms, somehow, some way accessing them. We want to put to rest this fake surprise when bad things happen, because the signs are there. Not everyone should have a gun. The signs are there. There's a lot of hate in this country. For Memorial Day, we want to put to rest those things. And I don't have the answers. None of us do, but I know enough is enough. And so with that, this has been a great show for this week. The Memorial Day episode of the Ball Hawk Sports Talk. Please like, please comment, please share. It'll cost you what? 4 seconds? Most of y'all either off today or you leaving work early. It's going to cost you 4 seconds to share the video. And then finally, after you tag a friend and tag a foe, tag anyone that you know after that, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and the podcast. It's a labor of love we bringing it to you. Before the sponsors, before the big studio, before all the hype, national acceptance and embracement of what we do, we bring it to you right here on this platform, the Ball Hawk Sports Talk. With that, for this particular week, the Memorial Day episode is over because we is out. Peace.